SNP elected a new leader. Humza Yousaf narrowly defeated Kate Forbes to take over from Nicola Sturgeon. And yesterday, he was voted in as First Minister in the Scottish Parliament, and today he appointed his cabinet. Well, now I can speak to the SNP's economy spokesperson here in Westminster. That's Stewart Hosie. Good to have you with us. So, Humza Yousaf, new First Minister, new leader of the SNP. No surprise, really, that he got the job, but was it a bit closer than you thought it was going to be?
I wasn't quite sure where it was going to be at the end, but, you know, it was pretty close between him and Kate. Second preferences came in, 52-48.
That number again.
That number again. Both Kate and Ash Regan were very gracious after it was announced, and Humza has got to work very quickly. He's been appointed First Minister. He's appointed the Cabinet today. I've only just seen the list of the minor positions. I haven't committed those to memory yet, but it's actually pretty exciting.
Why do you think it's exciting, then?
Well, if you look at the Cabinet, you've got an extraordinary mix of really talented, relatively young people. You know, Mary Goujon, Mary McCallan, Jenny Gilruth. You've got people like Shona Robertson and others who've been there for a long time and know the Parliament. You've got Angus Robertson still there as the Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution. There's a man who was the Westminster leader of the SNP down here for years. He knows his way around UK politics. I think this is a really, really strong team.
The person whose name you might have expected to be there, who is not there, is Kate Forbes, right? Who ran a very strong campaign. She finished a close second. She was offered the rural affairs brief. I mean, that's a bit like constructive dismissal, some might say.
No, she was offered the Cabinet Secretary role for rural affairs and a bunch of other things. This is a full role in government.
She didn't feel like she could accept it, though.
She didn't feel like she could accept it. But today, the comments she's made about Humza and about the team who have been appointed have been absolutely first class. I think what I would say is, I know a lot of our political opponents are trying to make mischief with this. And of course, I understand that. I don't think this is quite the story they think they have.
Well, just looking at the facts, though, and I accept her gracious statement on Twitter. The facts are, the new First Minister offered his main rival a job that she felt was too junior to accept, and that's why she's decided to go to the backbenchers. That is what happened.
Well, I'm not going to second-guess the reasons why she turned that role down, but she was offered a full job in government, quite right too. She has chosen, for her own reasons, not to take it, and she's been extremely gracious today in terms of the way Humza's gone about his business appointing the Cabinet.
Do you accept that there is a job at hand to unite the SNP after what was clearly a pretty fractious campaign?
Of course there is, and it would be naive to say it wasn't. But let me put it this way. Humza is only the fifth individual to lead the SNP in 40 years. This is the first contested leadership election we've had in 2 decades. And I'll be really honest, I'm not surprised it was a bit spicy, but that contest is now over. Unity is now vital. We'll have a UK election in 18 months. We've an independence campaign to take up through the gears. And, of course, we've a government to run. So I'm pretty confident you will see the unity and the discipline the SNP are famed for returning rather quickly.
OK, we'll have to see. We'll have to see, the proof is in the pudding on that one. If I may, while I've got you, I'm just keen to talk to you about our kind of lead political story today in Westminster, and that is the government's plans to try and move away from using what they would describe as expensive hotels to house migrants in. Do you think that's a policy that's a sensible direction?
I have to say, the whole immigration policy, whether it's the pushing back the boats dog whistle nonsense, whether it's putting people up in old barges, it's obscene and it makes no sense. If the government was serious about taking on the people smugglers and the human traffickers, all we would hear about would be intelligence and joint policing and border force improvements. We hear little or none of that. It's all dog whistle rhetoric about pushing back boats.
But isn't some of the reason we don't hear about that because it's actually really hard to do? If you look at Interpol, for example, they say, look, actually getting to the people smugglers is one of the most difficult crimes to crack because of the relationship they have. It's very transient. People don't know the smugglers' real names. They use burner phones. I mean, it's very easy, for politicians to say, look, I'm just going to click my fingers and we're going to smash the gangs.
I don't think it's as easy as snapping fingers and smashing gangs. I'm not that naive. But one can only imagine, with the resources of the French government and the UK government, and the channel is rather narrow, that they can track boats, they can trace the boats, they know where people are leaving from. Lots of this stuff's done on the internet. And I think there needs to be an awful lot more effort, if that's the intention, to go for these people directly rather than punishing refugees. And this is the thing that I find most obscene, and the SNP find extraordinarily obscene. Refugees and asylum seekers are being demonised. It's not illegal to be a refugee. It's not illegal to be an asylum seeker. It's not illegal to come to the UK to seek asylum. There needs to be a bit more respect, a bit more acknowledgement of international law, that we're a country people want to come to for their safety. Respect that, rather than this demonisation of people who are really desperate.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Good to have you on the programme.